Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I got sound. I can take these out for now. Whew. Right on. Episode 24 of Sports Stuff Hub Live. Good show online tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, actually. And special guest tonight, Dean Smith Richard, is joining me later on to break down the news of the J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals and what that means as far as the NFC West goes. Dean's kind of my specialist for the NFC West. So we're going to be getting pretty deep into that. Yeah, and then a lot of stuff happened in the NFL over the last 24 hours as well. I mean, we've got, besides the J.J. Watt signing, there was also the announcement that Josh Gordon signed with that fan-controlled football league, so he's going to be playing in that. There's been a lot of talk surrounding Russell Wilson and potential trades and blah, 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 blah. We'll probably talk a little bit about that later tonight when we're talking about the ripple effect in the NFC West with J.J. Watt landing with the Cardinals. We're going to do some mock drafts later, not in the show, but I'm going to have a mock draft or two put up on the website. Probably going to be mid-April. I'm going to wait to do it more closer to the draft. Definitely not going to put something up now. I'm not a big fan of early mock drafts, especially considering we've got a ton of free agency to go through yet. And there could be a lot of trades and free agent signings and franchise tags and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to wait a couple of weeks, well, actually a month and a half-ish, and then I'll put my mock draft up on the website, sportstuffhub.com, under the articles tab. And hopefully between now and then also be breaking down a few other things for NFL offseason. Also got the news today that Kyle Van Noy is going to be parting ways with the Miami Dolphins. They are releasing him to alleviate about $10 million of cap space, which they weren't exactly in a horrible cap position anyways. So I'm a little curious why they needed to free up $10 million. It leads me to believe that they are targeting either a big free agent or a trade, so that they can trade and extend or re-sign. So a little curious about that move, especially because Kyle Van Noy was in the first year of, I believe it was a 4-year contract, and he was all in on that rebuild, and he was a captain this past season, loved being there, loved the team, loved the coaching staff. So a little curious about why he was released. And then we've got, obviously, the Carson Wentz trade. I think we talked about that last week. And then the Green Bay Packers are actually talking about using the franchise tag on running back Aaron Jones, which is a little bit of a surprise because that's going to fetch him a fair payday. And it kind of probably leads to the fact that they won't re-sign him the year after. Either that or they'll franchise him again and pay him an even larger salary. The guy's going to command a lot on the free agent market, so I don't really see a good end to this. He's going to be a $10+ million running back. And it's not often that running backs are hitting those wages anymore. So I got a sneaking suspicion if they do franchise him, it's going to be the end of the Green Bay tenure with him after the franchise tag runs out, unless they sign him again, franchise him again. But yeah, lots going on in the NFL. We'll get into a little bit of sports cards real quick before we get too deep into sports chat. We talked about this a little bit last week with the severe weather that we saw around the country, especially affecting Texas. We have a little bit of delays that's happening with Panini, especially. Just had a conversation earlier today regarding some of my products that I had coming in for the website. Prism Soccer got delayed. Plates and Patches football got delayed. Earliest I'm going to see any of that stuff is going to be Friday. And then by the sounds of it, that could potentially have a ripple effect into next week with Revolution basketball. It sounds like Revolution got pushed back to the 10th, or later even. It might already have been moved back even further. But we are going to have a lot of delays. March was slated to be a very big month for sports card releases. And leading into March, because of the bad weather in Texas, it's going to severely screw with product releases for March. So I don't expect Panini to just push a bunch of products down our throat all within a week. My guess is they're going to spread it out a little bit, and March is going to get dwindled down a little bit. From what I'm seeing as far as the updated dates, I'm not seeing anything where they're going through and plowing more than one sport of each product per week. And I'll pop open a release schedule here real quick just to kind of give you guys an idea of where everything's at as of right now. This is just as of right now. This could change tomorrow. I mean, it could very easily change tomorrow. As I mentioned, Plates and Patches. It also sounds like Donruss basketball. And Prism Soccer all got pushed back to Friday. Mostly, there's going to be places that get it, and that's what we're going to be dealing with over the next several weeks. There are going to be retailers and breakers and whatnot that did get their product. So we'll see who does get it. Don't worry, if somebody out there is breaking it, or if somebody out there has it on their shelf or has it to sell, we can't look at it as get on them about it because they jumped ship or they jumped the shark and released it early. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. I mean, I got limited football before 80% of other people did, and I got it secondhand. So it's going to happen. So we've got Plates and Patches, we've got Prism Soccer, and Donruss basketball all look to be. They were supposed to all release tomorrow. It looks like most likely they're going to be Thursday, Friday release, because most people didn't get them. And then it looks like we got Revolution basketball pushed back to 310, Obsidian Soccer 310, Donruss baseball moved to 312. Panini One football was officially pushed back to 312. That was supposed to be the 5th. That got pushed back an entire week. So that's now dropping on 312. So next week, Friday. And then we see, it looks like Topps Inception Baseball is still slated for 317. Topps Heritage Baseball still showing at 319. Absolute Memorabilia Basketball still popping at 324. And Select Football as well on the 24th. And then we've got, right now it's showing Sage Hit Premier Draft Low Series Football on 331. And it also is showing currently on the Panini schedule that Prism Basketball is going to get released on 331 as well. So the last day of the month, as well as Encased Football and Leaf Ultimate Draft Football, all releasing on 331. Prism Basketball is going to be massive, and the fact that they are going to pump that out this quick, I'm a little surprised, because the wholesale pre-orders just hit last week. Everybody was behind, and they were scrambling. They were telling everybody, get your pre-orders in like same day, turn it around. We're supposed to be hearing what people's allocations were probably end of the week, early next week, and then they're shipping this stuff out for a 331 release according to their schedule still. I would be shocked if they hold to that schedule, especially with a few of the delays. But expect it to be 331, potentially as late as mid-April at the latest. I could see it maybe getting pushed back. A couple comments here. Hi, what's going on, everybody? Prism basketball over under 2,000. I'm gonna say under to start. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be $1,500 a box by the big retailers, the blowouts, the Steel Cities, the DAs. I got a feeling they're going to start it at 1,500. They're probably going to blow through the first wave that they put on their website, be sold out, and then they'll restock it a couple days later, 1,600, 1,700, and then they'll slowly climb it as they sell out of the allocated amount that they put on their website. But I will bet you it's $1,500 day one. Prism football was 1,000 on the first pricing that we saw. Basketball is going to be 1,500 out the gate, I bet, and then they're just going to jack it up from there. And just so some of you guys know, I know everybody likes to throw around the whole, well, wholesale cost is, $80 box. They're selling it for $500. Panini actually raised their pricing to wholesalers to pass on to the retailers and the breakers as well. So everybody's cost now went up. So now not only is Panini selling at an inflated direct-to-market price, but now they're also selling it higher to the distributors so that they're making money on that side of it as well. So right now, Panini is literally making money hand over fist. It looks like Prism basketball hobby boxes to the retailers through distribution have jumped to about $300 a box. When in previous years, like when I was breaking, I was buying Prism boxes at $60, $70 pre-order price. So be expecting price increases beyond what we're seeing, and be expecting some of the retailers who have been basically getting it shoved in their face that they're buying it for X amount, and now they're reselling it at 20 times that. Now they're gonna, well, our cost went up. Well, yeah, but when you're still paying less than 300 and you're charging 2,000 for it, I mean, 300 is what used to be Immaculate. Immaculate, you used to pre-order it and get it for about $250 a box through wholesale distribution. It was a $400 product. Now it's $500 on pre-order, and it's $800 out the gate. So everything's going up. It's getting ridiculous. I didn't want to get too much into that. I just wanted to talk about the release schedule, and I have seen a few things over the last several months, to be quite honest, but over the last 24 hours, and the announcement today of what Don Russ basketball is going to be on Panini's website. They finally put a price on their website of $999.95. So $999.95 on their website direct to consumer, whereas the blowouts and the DAs and the Steel Cities all put it at $1,200 right out the gate. And I saw a couple tweets today where people were blaming Panini and saying if Panini wasn't charging $1,000, or no, excuse me, it was Prism Soccer. That's what it was. And Prism Soccer on Panini's website is going to be like $675, $699-ish. And this person was like, if Panini didn't jack their price up and put it at this price, local card shops and retailers online and stuff could sell it for cheaper. And I'm thinking to myself, I did a quick search, and I'm like, there's 3 retailers, large volume retailers online that have these boxes at $750 a box, and they have for weeks. I'm like, Panini's price just got put on it hours before that. I'm like, it's not Panini telling them what to charge, and if it could be, I don't know, but it's not Panini's number that's first. It's these other guys, and then Panini's doing about 15% below that. Like, for example, Don Russ basketball, $1,200 a box from the big guys, and Panini's doing $999.95. That's 18%. So they're sticking right around that 15% mark, and of what the big guys are, 15% under. And it's hard to justify in my opinion, but it looks shady as hell to me, especially when you're talking. It's literally like clockwork. It is. You look at what the release prices for those big guys are, and you look at what Panini's charging, and you're just kind of like, wait a second, why is it always about the same price gap? It's a little bizarre. But anyway, so sports releases. Just be aware of the delays. Anybody that bought plates and patches off the website, Friday is going to be the earliest I get it and that's if I even get it. I have not gotten any confirmation yet that I'm actually going to have it by Friday. So later on in the show tonight, we are going to rip a box of cards. We're going to rip a box of 2020-21 Panini Hoops basketball. I did get a little bit of a restock on these. I believe I'm down to one box for sale left on the website, so if anybody wants one. The price did come down a little bit. I got a price break on these that I bought that showed up today, so I was able to put these at $4.10 on the website if anybody wants the last box. I believe there's only one left. Try to buy more if you want, but it's only the only amount that's on there is what's left. So I think there's only one left based on what I saw for sales. But we're gonna rip one of these, and then we're gonna give some shit away. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna have about 6:30 tonight, 6:30 Pacific time. Dean is gonna be jumping on, and we're gonna be breaking down the J.J. Watt acquisition by the Arizona Cardinals. What that means for the Cardinals. And more importantly to some of you other viewers, what that means for the NFC West, namely some of you guys that are Seahawk fans. There's going to be a ripple effect with this, and this is going to play heavily on the 2021 season and potentially beyond. Basketball we got going tonight, I saw, and the last I looked, it was still in the third quarter. Grizzlies and the Wizards, and John Morant looked to actually be having a good game. He was up at 24, and I see now he's up at 30 points. Could be a rebound game for him. I know he has struggled since coming back from that nasty ankle injury he had. That was watching the okay. I grew up on a farm. I can gut a deer. I can handle anything like that. I really struggle with really bad human injuries when it comes to bones popping, breaking, dislocations. I struggle with that stuff. I don't like the look of it. I still, in my mind, I still have a vision of, I was a wrestling fan when I was growing up, pro wrestling, and I still have a vision in my head of watching a pay-per-view where Psycho Sid jumped off the top rope, went to kick his opponent, and landed on his other leg, because it's like a one-footed kick, catches himself with the other leg. While he comes down, his calf snapped in half, and he fell, obviously. And I still have the vision of him laying on the mat, and him lifting his leg like this, the broken one, and his calf dangling like that, where it broke. I saw that when I was I don't even know if I was I think I might have been 14, and that image is still in my head. Just like with some of you guys are probably familiar with Jacquez Green, who played for the Florida Gators back in college in the 90s. And when I was in high school, we had a film room, and my football coach, during study halls, or if we had classes where we literally had nothing going on, we could go and hop in the film room and watch film. And one of the games that he had in there, and I don't remember what game it was, but Jacquez Green was a kick returner for the Gators at the time. And he fielded a kickoff and went and ran it back, and he planted one way and went to cut and come back, and as he was stepping back, he still had his plant foot. got hit here, and it tucked his leg under him, and the full weight of the guy that tackled him came and sandwiched onto his chest, and his whole hip, the hip that he had planted, just like went poof, and you could see it on film. Oh my God. That's another scene that just, it's nightmares for me. And like I said, I can handle a lot of stuff. I grew up on a farm. I'm used to gutting deer and butchering cattle and stuff like that, but I can handle all that stuff. But when you're talking human injuries, I'm just like, I see it and I'm just like, oh, no, 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 nope, want nothing to do with that. Oh, man. But yeah, Ja Morant's ankle. Anytime I see a basketball player come down, because I've rolled my ankles a lot between high school and college. I roll my ankles, and just the thought of that, and then I watch these guys on a pro court, and they come down, and I that ankle, I'm just like, I see the guy's foot underneath, and I'm like, oh, here it comes, and then all of a sudden they just go, and I'm like, oh, oh my God, no. Nope, 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 nope. Don't work for me. Like, there's times during football games, Dak's injury, couldn't watch the replay. Could not watch the replay. As soon as they said it was an ankle, I was like, nope. Same with Alex Smith. I cannot watch that. Joe Theismann, cannot watch that stuff. I cannot watch those injuries. They are nightmare material for me. Never going to happen. I don't want to see it. Don't show it. Don't show it. I don't want to see it. Save it for the highlight reels. That way people can choose to watch it. I don't want to watch it if it's on national television. Keep it off my screen. I don't want it. I don't want to puke. That's it. It probably would induce a gag reflex for me. Oh man. Corey Hill UFC. I'd have to check that. I don't know that one, Dave, but if that makes you cringe, I ain't watching it. You ain't getting me. I ain't gonna Google it. I ain't gonna YouTube it. Nope. Not happening. Around the NBA, what else we got? Looks like Grizzlies end the game, 125-111 over the Wizards. We got Clips and Celtics tonight. Pretty close game. Third quarter's almost done. Hawks Heat, another close game. 10 minutes left in the fourth. Knicks and Spurs is a 5-point game, still a 4 in the second. We got Nuggets and Bucks, and then Suns and Lakers. Suns-Lakers game will be starting about a half hour. So lots of good basketball tonight. One of the other disappointing things that happened in the NFL today, longtime NFL veteran, Minnesota Vikings legend Kyle Rudolph was released. And I'm not a Vikings fan, but I have thoroughly enjoyed Kyle Rudolph's career, especially as a Viking. He is a fantastic player and a fantastic ambassador for the NFL, and I wish him the best, and hopefully if he decides to continue his playing career, hopefully he does that successfully. If he decides to call it a day and walk away from the game, hopefully he has the peace of mind in the accomplishments that he's had, because he is a tremendous player, and I wish him the best. A couple more comments. Leg kick checked and broke his leg in half. Snap back. Nope. No. Thanks, Dave. Good. Nope. Not going to watch it. Not happening. I don't even want to finish reading that because the picture's in my head now. And can't get rid of that. So, at least not that I know of with technology. Maybe one day they'll be able to erase memories. I would definitely be okay with erasing that Psycho Sid kick off the top rope. If I could get rid of that memory, please do. Jacquez Green, hip explosion. Yeah, I'm okay. Get rid of that memory out of my mind. I don't want it. Anyway, back to Kyle Rudolph. Wish him the best. Sounds like we might get some clarification from the Bears. There's a lot of rumors flying around in the NFL. And one thing that I have learned, and it was talked about on the Pat McAfee show this morning, a lot of these rumors that are out there are just rumors. There is no substantiation to it at all. Listen to all the crap that went on with J.J. Watt. And I gotta say, I applaud how J.J. handled the entire situation and the fun that him and TJ had with it. It was hilarious. And if you don't think that those two boys know how to work a brand and create fun content and build the Watt family legacy through entertainment, you're foolish. They had this played so well. All the different rumors that were flying and all the story that they were able to have people be able to talk about during this, because they had TJ out shoveling JJ's driveway trying to recruit him as a Pittsburgh Steeler. You had all the Cleveland Brown fans saying that he was going to end up in Cleveland. You had the Peloton bike that was KJ's, and it said on it about him going to potentially Green Bay or Buffalo or Cleveland and winning a title. All of the rumors. And yet Arizona wasn't on anybody's radar. It was said by Jay Glazer right out the gate that Arizona was a top contender to sign JJ. But that storyline completely got left in the dust when all these other big names, Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, when all these other teams, rumors started flying, and Arizona just kind of, we got this. We got this. And they just kept their heads down. They shut up about it. There was no rumors flying around about it. Check the box. Got him done. JJ did it how JJ wanted to do it, and he got to announce it himself, versus how the Houston Texans organization let him go, and that hit the media before JJ was ready to release the video, which was kind of a shit move by the Texans. But then again, I don't expect much else from them. They have been kind of a trash organization the last few years, and it ain't looking any better now with who they got there, between GM and whatever the Jack Easterby's title is, chaplain or CEO or whatever he is for the team, and it's gonna continue that way. I don't see anything changing anytime soon. They've got to clean house completely, and it starts at ownership. They honestly, in my opinion, need to sell the team to get a fresh start and wipe the entire staff clean. There's no reason for any of them to stay. So it's 6:30. Dean's trying to jump on. It looks like he's having a little bit of issue, but we'll just keep talking here until he is able to get on. He said he's having some audio issues. He just texted me a few minutes ago. If he is having a problem, I might just text him and tell him to jump on his phone. You know, it is what it is. If he's having a problem, we'll get him set up here soon, though, hopefully, so that he's got a good quality system. So he's got a little bit clearer picture than last week or last month, I should say. Do I think Russell Wilson gets traded? I'm not going to answer that right now. I'm going to answer that. Well, we're going to discuss that later. That's going to be one of the things that when Dean gets on, we're going to talk about as we get going, is going to be the NFC and the ripple effect of J.J. Watt. It says call over internet. I don't know what that means. Looks like he's trying again. Let's just say that J.J. Watt going to the Cardinals changes a lot. So. Oh, man. hopefully Dean gets his stuff figured out here soon.
I think it's figured out.
Oh, your audio's already on.
There we go. It did not want to cooperate.
That's always fun.
Right? Starting my life. I'm here now.
You're shaky. Do you have a way you can like mount your camera?
Give me like 30 seconds here.
You have 25.
Shit. I'm going to set you down. Go back.
I was going to tell him before he walked away he should have muted his mic. But we'll deal with it. Oh, man. So, David Miller seems to think that Russ is going to get traded. It's definitely possible. Question is just going to be are they going to be able to get what they want back for him? And as I've said a lot with, especially like with the Deshaun Watson situation, the longer you wait, the less leverage the team's going to have. Because if you wait till after the draft, a team is going to be less likely to give up draft picks after this next draft. So, because they're going to be evaluating talent now versus 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after the draft, they're going to be less likely to give up draft capital for next draft. And if Russ is unhappy, he could always just sit, and then the team loses all leverage. Dean, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You should have muted your mic.
I should have.
Next time. When you the next time that you're on with me, when you first sign on, turn your audio off.
It's usually it usually does it automatically, which is why I didn't even think about it.
With Zoom lately, it's been when it asks you if you want to start or jump in with video, it automatically turns your audio on now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Fun.
I've been living in Teams World lately, where it mutes you automatically.
Are you out in a Death Star? Lost you. Can you hear me?
After the debacle with my computer not wanting to work last time, I was like, I'm going to do it from my phone because I know the audio is way better there, and it just didn't want to work at all. So here we are.
All right, well, here we go. Dean Smith Richard. You can follow him on Twitter, Dean on Sports. And we're going to talk about the big news that happened with J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona Cardinals. What was your first thought when you?
Which is.
We got a delay, I think.
My first thought was that I needed a drink because of the week that Seattle sports fans have had, or the 2 weeks. Because 2 weeks ago we're on here talking about Russell Wilson and the unhappiness there and all of that, and then Kevin Mather's video comes to surface and he loses his job, and so it's just been a crazy 2 weeks for Seattle sports fans, and then just add in JJ Watt to the NFC West, and Russell Wilson's over there just wanting to not die, and everyone, there's 3 teams just hell-bent on murdering him. So that was my first thought. It just really, like, Seattle sports fans deserve a drink right now.
Not going to argue with that one. Give me 1 second. Actually, I just realized that I didn't have my notes up. There we go. Yeah, so
I knew you didn't have your notes up. I had audio problems, so you could have time to pull those up.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't even looking at it, and all of a sudden I got talking about it because I just typed them, throughout the day, and so it's all still fresh. And I'm like, I can wing, and I'm not gonna try to wing it. But yeah,
but that's my secondary thought.
Go ahead.
My secondary thought too was just how much more leverage does Russell Wilson have it's just the murderer's rows of pass rushers that are in the NFC West. And, there's the chatter around Seattle, right? There's people who think Wilson's the problem. And we talked a lot about where I stand on that. But, why do the three other teams in the division invest so heavily in shutting him down? And that's where you see their priorities to add over and over again is to stop Russell Wilson and the other quarterbacks in this division. So
I would agree. And so the funny thing was, so getting into the nuts and bolts of this acquisition by the Cardinals, so based on the salary cap predictions that we're going to see for 2021, because we still don't even have a finite number yet, the Cardinals were estimated to have about 13.9 million, and the Watt contract is an average of 15.5. So my guess is there hasn't been details that have come out about the exact configuration of his contract, but it's a 2-year 30 or 31 or whatever it was, and it sounds like they're probably going to try to get creative for a signing bonus and all this other stuff to try to knock down some of the cap hit, because they've got 3 major defensive pieces that are free agents that if they don't work some kind of magic here, they will not be able to re-sign.
Yeah, they're gonna be tied up against it, and you're honestly in some ways in a better position if you're going into free agency with guys walking than guys who have these 5 or 6 year deals on the books, where basically everybody anticipated the cap being around 200 million this year, and it's sounding more and more like it's going to be 180 to 182. So instead of it just going up and up and up like it has been, if it's that low, that's a problem for everybody. So there's going to be a lot of just creative accounting that goes into it. But with Watt specifically, I am curious to see what the actual guaranteed money is and what the likely to be earned incentives are. You got to figure.
According to Spotrac that put out some contract details, it's apparently 23 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So there, that's a much more friendly cap number, and then it's basically the restructuring deal that Carlos Dunlap did when he came to Seattle. Is it $5 million this year, a $7 million signing bonus that's split between the 2 years, and then guaranteed money that can be designated as a post-June 1st move next year, right? So in reality, you're only going to absorb closer to $15 million over those 2 years. So there's always the best thing I ever heard about the salary cap is there's always a way.
Right.
It's a number and it's there, but all these general managers, and they all have salary cap, gurus in those buildings who that's all they do is play with those scenarios and see how they can do it.
And that's why we've been seeing a lot of releases over the last 24 hours. We had Kyle Rudolph today. We had Kyle Van Noy today. There was a couple other guys who were $4,000 to $8,000 cap hits as well. But heading into free agency for the Cardinals, 3 key pieces of their defense: Marcus Golden, outside linebacker; Hassan Reddick, another outside linebacker; and Patrick Peterson, their safety. All 3 of them free agents this year, and unless they get creative or release a couple other key pieces or restructure some other higher priced guys, there's no way they can bring any of those 3 back.
No, and they're definitely not bringing Peterson back. Peterson's definitely going to walk. And then between Reddick and Golden, yeah, maybe one of those guys come back, but they just drafted Isaiah Simmons, who's just a Swiss Army knife on defense last year. So they've just spent pretty heavily on a guy who's classified as an outside linebacker who's under that rookie deal. That's going to be much cheaper than either of those guys. So, one guy for sure is gone, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of Reddick or Golden they didn't even make an offer to, or really tried to lowball him.
Well, and I could see, in my opinion anyways, Hassan Reddick would be the smarter decision between the 2 of them.
Agreed.
Pair him with Simmons, because Simmons is versatile enough, he can also play inside linebacker.
Right.
So, but I mean, still, you're talking about Chandler Jones bookended on one side, and then you have J.J. Watt on the other side, and then you have, Isaiah Simmons, potentially Hassan Reddick back. I mean, that front seven is going to be ugly.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good, and they're, and circling back to the larger J.J. Watt conversation, because Arizona's kind of a surprising choice for me. I heard that Buffalo was pretty heavily after him, and you look at the season that Buffalo just put together and the team they have, and that would have been a destination that made a lot of sense for him. But Arizona plays in the NFC West. That's a difficult division, but man, there's a lot of appealing talent on both sides of the ball there that you could kind of say, yeah, I expect these guys to make a run in the next 2 years.
Well, and one of the key pieces involved in it, from what's coming out all of a sudden now, it was DeAndre Hopkins. And Hopkins and him have pretty much been talking since the end of the season, and we'll call it under the radar recruiting him, so to speak. And they've been talking about it because they've been good friends since DeAndre Hopkins got drafted. And so I know it was first talked about once J.J. Watt was given his release from the Texans. I know Jay Glazer had reported that Arizona was going to heavily pursue him, but then it all kind of got lost in the shuffle when all the people started talking about all the sexy destinations. The Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every single one of them had a storyline, and Arizona just kind of sat back and was like, now we got this.
Yeah, and there's so much of that just, it's easy to sit here as fans and in the media and just connect the dots because it's your job to talk about it. But, that doesn't, if there's smoke, doesn't mean there's fire. And, J.J. Watt's no dummy. He's still going to get every cent he can, even if it's in pursuit of a ring. And you want that noise as a free agent out there. You want it to say, hey, there's 9-10 teams after me. Because then that is going to, you can go back to Arizona and say, hey, what do you have to offer? It's going to get you that extra $1 million or $2 million.
Well, and there was a lot of rumors flying around about who offered what and everything. And I know the Titans apparently also made him an offer as well. But then afterwards they come back and say, yeah, we weren't involved in that. And Buffalo came back and was like, yeah, we offered him, way less than what apparently the report is. Because as soon as he got signed, all of a sudden there was reports out that Cleveland offered him more, and Tennessee offered him more, and Buffalo offered him more, and he took the Arizona gig. And it was like, everybody's going, if you're really ring chasing, why wouldn't you go to Buffalo? Why wouldn't you go to Green Bay? Why wouldn't you go to Tennessee? Those were all playoff teams, and Green Bay and Buffalo especially made deep playoff runs.
Mm-hmm. Green Bay was where my money was at. That seems like the no-brainer decision, and there's a little bit more of a need. But I just go back to Arizona playing in the NFC West, and that's where I'm just puzzled because it's obviously a talented team. But you look at the Rams just pushed all their chips to the center of the table. They're all in on winning this year or next year, winning a Super Bowl, Matt Stafford. And they're in their own cap health situation. That's going to really, that bill's going to come due in the next couple of years. So they're in win now mode.
We're going to get to the cap here in a few minutes when we get further dug into the NFC West, which actually, you know what? We'll just lead into it now with that. So NFC West salary caps as of right now. So we already talked about Arizona. The 49ers are estimated at $11.8 million based on, and this is based on who's walking, not re-signing anybody. So estimated $11 million in cap space. Seahawks 11.1. As of right now, if the free agents walk in free agency for the Rams, negative $35.7 million.
That bill is due, my friend. They're in a bad spot with their cap. And again, there's a ton of stuff you can do to whittle that down, and there's a bunch of teams that are going to have to do that. And then the flip side of it is you're saying that those are numbers with everybody who's set to hit free agency. and Seattle had like 36 guys. It's a lot. Of their 50, that top 51 number that's used, they are losing a lot of guys. So it's going to be really tough to bring them back. And John Schneider, I think, is one of the best in the business at that. But, Seattle's a team where that's a lot of talent set to walk out the door, and then they don't have any draft picks. They're slim pickings in the draft for them as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they manage it as well.
Yeah, because, when you look at it, they just gave up Jared Goff, and they're eating, $24 million in cap from him alone? Mm-hmm. Out of a $35 million over the cap right now, $24 million of it is dead from the quarterback they just traded away. Then you look at the contract for Stafford that they just took on, and they just took on $20 million of his contract. Yeah. So that's $44 million tied up in your former quarterback and your current quarterback.
Like I said, they pushed all their chips to the center of the table, which is the thing that makes the J.J. Watt to Arizona a little bit puzzling to me. There's obviously the personal connection, and again, obviously a talented team, but you got the only defensive lineman probably who's better than J.J. Watt in the division. It's gonna be tough sledding for them.
Some would argue that Nick Bosa's right there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But
and you
just look at the.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, there's definitely guys out there who are in that conversation, but you just look at the talent that's in that division, how stacked that division is, and San Francisco got a raw deal last year because 3/4 of their team was injured. Yep. So it's not like, and they didn't lay down at any point. They were still had put together a fairly good season for the amount of injuries they had. So Correct. You're looking at 3 teams, and and that's where Buffalo or Green Bay made a lot of sense, right? You go, okay, if you go to Buffalo, the Patriots are in a downswing. They had a really down year, and there wasn't really anything encouraging about next year. The Dolphins are increasingly competitive, but the Jets are there. So there's a much less competitive division to go in and say, okay, what's the path to a Super Bowl? It's the number 1 seed, right? Every year, one of the teams is a number 1 seed in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl. So what gives you the best chance to get there if you're chasing a ring, and in a division that's going to beat each other down? Even if you win that division, Seattle won it this year, but it wasn't enough to get to the number 1 seed, with Green Bay having an okay Vikings team, not great Bears team, and the Lions. So Green Bay was really able to pad that win-loss record that got them to the 1 seed. So that's what I would have been looking at if I'm J.J. Watt. What gets me the easiest path to a Super Bowl?
But that's the thing. That's the thing that's so unknown about it. Was he ring chasing, or was he just looking for a better situation on a competitive team that he can bring something to the table and potentially be that guy that takes them from being, number 2, number 3 in the division to being number 1, number 2?
Yeah, and he absolutely could be that difference maker. I still think he's got a lot left in the tank. Obviously, he's been injured a lot more recently as he's gotten older, but I think he's still going to be very effective. And then you look at the flip side of it, he's a competitor. He's a competitive guy. He's going to want to go into a situation where he does have to work for it, I would assume. He's not going to want to just hand it to him with 6 wins a year. So there's a flip side to it too, for sure. But it's going to be a more difficult road.
Well, and what we're looking at, just looking at the overall NFC West picture right now, when we're talking about 2020 rankings on defense, obviously everybody's well aware how dominant the Rams defense was this past season. They were the number 3 ranked pass rush in the NFL. The Cardinals came in at number 21, Seahawks came in at 26, and the 49ers came in at number 29. But as you also mentioned, on a very depleted roster, which included Nick Bosa getting hurt in week 2 or week 3. D Ford only played 49 snaps all season. So key pieces like that are now coming back for the 49ers, they're not going to be a 29th ranked pass rush next year. They're going to be probably 15 or better.
And you look at Seattle. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, where it was the tale of two teams for them, and the defense was the flip side of that, where they were, I want to say, top 3, and at one point led the NFL in sacks in the second half of the season. So once they found their groove, it took them a while to get there, and they were so bad out of the gate, but they turned around in the second half of the season, and that was a much improved unit. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays entering into next year too.
And you mentioned it earlier about how many people Seattle is losing, and with how many they're losing and still being so close to the cap number, they're going to have to get creative with this. Here's notable Seahawks free agents going into this next year, and these are either key defensive pieces or offensive lines only. Okay? So I'm not counting like Chris Carson. I'm not counting wide receivers. I'm not counting anything like that. Anything offense I mention here is only offensive line, because offensive line is important for Seattle right now. So number 1, KJ Wright. Obviously, that's a big name for them to be losing for next year. Yep. Outside linebacker. Bruce Irvin, which, he didn't really play a role in the defense this last year anyways. It was more kind of a bring him back as kind of a renaissance to end his career type of thing. Mike Iupati, guard. That's going to hurt.
And he's gone. He retired.
Right.
So he's
and then you got Cedric Ogbuehi, I think that's how you pronounce his name, tackle. Quentin Dunbar, cornerback. Ethan Posick, he's a free agent. Are they going to bring him back? I mean, that's a guard, and he was showing promise last year.
Yeah, and he actually ended up playing a lot of center, where he's a tough case because he was so middle of the road that you could definitely make the argument, make him an offer and see if he takes it, maybe try to lowball him a little bit. But he's also a guy that you could spend that money on. And in, again, a year where you're so tight up against the cap and where that cap management is going to be so critical, if you don't hit with him, if he doesn't perform for 16 games, that's a lot of money that's wasted, right?
That's a liability at that point.
Yeah. So that's the other issue is you don't have, Iupati was great for what he was. You're talking about an aging, veteran, and now at the end of his career, and then you got middle of the road guys. It's the same lineman conversation you and I talked about earlier. Is there hasn't been a lot of guys brought in that can be groomed and that you point to and say, yeah, this is a guard who we want to sign to a 3 or 4 year deal. Which is where you can really isolate yourself or insulate yourself from cap danger this year, right? Because then you can, if it's a guy like Posick, what's he going to command? $30, $40 million over 4 years, maybe that's the super, super high end, and 20 of it guaranteed. So if you're talking about a $2.5 million cap hit versus, $8 or $9 million cap hit all at once, that's where you really want to be. And is he a guy that you want to make that investment in? And I don't think he is. So you have to then try to lowball him. But it's not like there aren't other teams out there that could use a guard or center, even as a depth piece. They're going to pay him more over a longer term. So it's a tough spot Seattle's in because of that, because they don't have a lot of line depth. And yeah, they brought in some good guys. Iupati was a great signing for what he was, but you need to go out there and do that again now. It's going to be very difficult to do that.
Well, and a couple more free agents that they've got that they're losing is Chance Warmack, another offensive lineman at guard. Then you got Demarius Randall, free safety. Now, granted, he didn't play a ton this year, and he's a fairly long-term veteran already. He's bounced around the league the last few years since he left Green Bay. Shaquem Griffin, He's a free agent after this year. And then Puna Ford, who was supposed to be their big anchor on the defensive line, and he's been, I don't know, I guess I would say he's shown flashes, but overall I wouldn't say he hasn't lived up to expectation.
Yeah, Puna was pretty good. I think they'll bring Puna back for sure. Especially, he's still not going to command a tremendous amount on the open market, so I think they can get him back. Randall and Dunbar were two guys you mentioned in there that I'm very interested to see what's going to end up with them, because Dunbar's a guy you went out and traded for, and granted a 5th round pick. It's not like they broke the bank for him, but that's somebody you went out and traded for. He was kind of up and down, played well at times, not so well at times, looked way out of his element sometimes, and was injured. So there's another case of do you bring him back? And then you have, just the safety situation overall. Marquise Blair was supposed to be a major piece, and then was injured week 1, week 2, and then the trade for Jamal Adams. So the safety spot's kind of interesting. Hugo Amadi was great, and I believe he's still under contract.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a thing. But then you got Shaq Griffin, Pro Bowler 2 years ago, a liability for a quarter of this season at least. In a contract year. So what do you do there? It's so many of these guys are just middle of the road right now, where they're not good enough that you say, yeah, I need to sign you to a long-term deal. It's the guy we can't afford to let go. But then they're at key positions, like you mentioned. So are you going to let 3 or 4 significant pieces of your secondary just walk with 5 draft picks? Where are you going to go to replace those guys?
Well, and that's overall the issue that they've got. As you said, they've got 20 plus free agents, and they've only got 11.5 million, not even 11.5 million in cap space. How do you bring back 23 pieces on 11 million?
Yeah, and feel confident that you're going to hit on most of them. Obviously, people are going to get injured and all that, but I think you have to look at the roster and say, okay, we got Marquise Blair, injured all last season, but just came on strong, played great in limited opportunities the year before. So I think you have to pencil him in either as your nickel guy or as your strong or your free safety opposite Jamal Adams. You got to look at Hugo Amadi. You have to take a long, hard look at what you're going to do about Trey Flowers, because there's a guy who at times was great and at times was just brutally bad. So, you either have to get a deal with a guy like Shaq Griffin, or you have to turn to free agency and hope you hit on a bargain again, or the draft. And obviously Schneider's done very well at both of those elements. But again, when you're talking about a division that's as competitive as this is, you can't afford to make mistakes right now.
Especially with with J.J. Watt coming into the division as well. And that's what's going to be on the spotlight this next season because of the comments by, we'll call it the Russell Wilson camp, is his unhappiness. Now there's going to be a glaring spotlight all season, not just by Seahawk fans, but by national media on the offensive line for Seattle. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's going to be the storyline, because where do you get better? Who's out there that you can add that's going to make you significantly better right now, enough to whether Aaron Donald, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, and everybody else that this division is going to throw at Russell Wilson. To say nothing of if the 17th game happens next year, they got J.J. Watt's brother that they're going to have to face in the Steelers. There's a lot of good pass rushers out there right now, and pretty much every single one of them's already laid Russell Wilson out at some point in his career. So where do you go to get better on the offensive line right now? You get Dwayne Brown's obviously your left tackle, but other than that, I don't think they have a starter for any of the other offensive line positions. So, and then you don't have a first-round draft pick, so you're not going to find a starting caliber offensive lineman in the bottom half of the second round. That's their first pick. So,
unless you got a guy who slides because of character issues, it could happen.
But
you
look
at a Lael Collins type of situation.
Yeah, but that's are you going to bet your $100 million quarterback on that? I'm not.
If he was top ranked in college and he slides because of a drug charge or potential drug charge, at this point, if you're the Seahawks, you kind of have to go yes.
Right? No. I'm saying, are you going to bet your $100 million quarterback on that happening, on that guy being available? Because
that's the other thing, though. Do you keep your $100 million quarterback, or do you use your $100 million quarterback to get yourself another really good quarterback and an offensive lineman?
I don't think you can. I don't think the guy is out there. The only possible trade I would entertain that would give me something along those lines is for Deshaun Watson. But there's nobody else who's available who would even be able to go down that road. Jacksonville's not going to trade the first overall pick and a line.
They won't. But there's been talks that Dallas, if they tag, sign Dak, and trade, and an offensive lineman and first-round pick for Russell Wilson.
And the report out of Dallas is that they just laughed it off. There's no way.
I honestly don't see it happening either. But that's been floated out there by a number of analysts, and it's at least a scenario that Seattle could at least be, mulling over as, well, shit. Okay, well, if we're gonna,
if I'm trading Russell Wilson, and I go back to what I said 2 weeks ago, Russell Wilson is not getting traded. You can't move a guy like that. He's worth too much to you, and there's not a way to get enough in return to make it worth it. But if I'm moving him, I am moving him exclusively for picks. Exclusive. And I'm just restocking.
Who are you going to put under center if you don't have a quarterback on the roster right now to compete, and you only have $11 million in cap space?
I would honestly throw Geno Smith out there.
He's a free agent.
At that point, if you're, but it's going to cost a cheeseburger to bring him back.
No, he's going to have vet minimum, and if you're pulling him back in for starter, it's going to be $7 million minimum.
Yeah, and maybe, but or anybody, any street free agent, because if you're trading Russell Wilson, you're punting on this. If you're trading Russell Wilson, you're saying we're not going to the Super Bowl in 2020, because you can't. There's not a quarterback who you're going to get that is going to be an upgrade, even with an offensive line. It's not going to improve your team this year. There is no way you can trade Russell Wilson and say the Seahawks are a better football team. It can't happen. So if you're trading him, you're saying we're getting worse. And some of the moves that have made lately, I kind of feel like that's what they're going for. But if you're going to do that, tear it down to the studs and trade everybody. Trade Tyler Lockett, trade Russell Wilson for as many draft picks as you can possibly get. And if they want to throw in a Blaine Gabbert or whatever to stick under center and take 50 sacks next year, fine. And then get a high draft pick going into 2022. I'm good with that. That's the only way your team gets any better. But there's no way that trading Russell Wilson is going to improve the Seahawks.
What if New Orleans comes knocking with Taysom Hill and 2 firsts?
Absolutely not. And New Orleans can't do that. Look at New Orleans' cap situation. Like, they've got the worst cap situation in the league, and that was when the cap was $200 million. They can afford to cut Russell Wilson without cutting like everybody else on their roster.
Well, they're going to have a big cap relief come June 1st when they can actually process Drew Brees' retirement. They restructured it to alleviate like $20 million off of this season, but they can't officially process for his retirement until June 1st, and that's where all the speculation's coming that, there's been no announcement that Drew Brees is going to retire, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's because they officially, per league rules, cannot announce it until June 1st when they can process it, and then they can spread his cap hit out over 3 seasons, and it's going to save them $20 million next season.
They can. You can designate it as a post-June. You get two moves a year that you can designate it as a post-June 1st one. So
if I read it correctly, they've already used 2, and that's why they have to wait with Drew Brees, because it's a restructure. If he just had a 1 season left, then they wouldn't have to worry about it. Then they could have just done it. But because it was a restructure, and then he still had 2 or 3 years left or whatever it was, it just screwed everything up.
But the draft is, but you have to be in cap compliance before June 1st, so they can't trade for Russell Wilson and have Drew Brees on the roster.
Correct. It would have to be a post June 1st trade.
Right.
And then when that happens, and as I was saying before you got on today, once you go past the draft this year, you lose a lot of leverage trying to trade a big piece, because teams aren't going to be as likely to pull the trigger because they haven't done their draft analysis for the following season.
And you're looking at where's that draft pick going to be. So if you're Seattle and you're going to give up your quarterback for this year, for 2021, and not get anything but Taysom Hill in return for 2021, like, get out of here with that, right? It would be another first-round draft pick at that point, because so I'm going to give up Russell Wilson, get Taysom Hill for this year, a first in 2022 and a first in 2023, and by making a move for Russell Wilson, the New Orleans Saints or whoever is saying, I expect that pick to be number 32, right? That's why you make that move. That's why you trade for Matt Stafford, is you're saying, I expect that draft pick that I just gave you to be number 32.
Just imagine Jameis Winston ends up in that trade deal, and all of a sudden Jameis Winston is the Seahawks starting quarterback in 21.
There you go. That would be something else, man. So again, Russell Wilson's not getting traded. Like, there's no way to get enough of an appreciable asset coming to the Seahawks to improve them. It would take a minimum of 2 first-round draft picks in 2021. This year, this draft, a minimum of 2 of those, and either a league average caliber starting quarterback, a key offensive lineman, and probably a first-round draft pick last year would be where next year would be where I started. Because there's no way, again, that letting Russell Wilson go improves the Seahawks. So they have to find a way to improve internally. The other avenue to do that, though, is trade some of the assets that you do have. Tyler Lockett's coming into a contract year, has been super effective. Could you swing him plus something for a good guard or a good tackle or a good center? That's the route I could really see them going. Is he obviously doesn't have the biggest salary on the Seahawks, but trading him would take a decent cap hit off of next year's. They have other receiving options. Obviously, DK Metcalf is the guy going forward, but that's a move that I could see them making, is trading a guy like Tyler Lockett for an offensive lineman or for a draft pick, pairing a 2022 draft pick with Tyler Lockett to get an offensive lineman.
And doing that this year before the draft would be ideal. They're not going to get a first-round pick for him. Obviously, they would have to get player compensation essentially. But doing that before the draft this year would be ideal, because this is actually a fairly good wide receiver class again, as we're probably going to see going forward for the next several years anyways, because of the way the game is evolving. We're seeing a lot more developed, polished route runners, better hands, almost... I almost want to call them enigmatic type of wide receivers, where they're just showstoppers all over the place. Yeah, we're seeing more and more of that in college.
Yeah, and you look at we can talk all day long and have about Seattle not doing well drafting offensive linemen, but they have done really well drafting wide receivers in later rounds. DK Metcalf, look at who he is, 2nd rounder. Doug Baldwin in the 7th round. Tyler Lockett himself was a 4th round pick. So that's an area where historically they've gotten really, really good value at a position group. So that's the route that I could really see them going, because if that gets them an offensive lineman, and there's a guy that they feel like they can get in the 4th or 5th round who can come in and be a wide receiver 2 to DK Metcalf, I think that's a trade you make.
So moving further into the NFC West, as we
Which
kind of
sucks,
got
'cause
hung
I
up on the
love
Seahawks there. Notable Rams that are hitting free agency, and this list is actually a lot shorter than I expected. And I guess it goes to show how much over the cap they are, that they don't really have that many big guys walking this year. Leonard Floyd's a free agent. I hadn't even paid attention to that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big hit to their defense because he was actually very influential in their defense this last season. But then they're going to lose Austin Blythe, one of their guards, and Troy Hill, one of their cornerbacks. Those are really the three biggest guys they're losing.
Yeah, not too bad, but they are key names, right? And that's the danger of having, Aaron Donald, one of the best players in the NFL, with a massive contract, and then
Ramsey.
you're paying Jalen Ramsey, massive contract. So their money's tied up in three guys who are on the roster and one guy who isn't, which to me is a big endorsement of how they've drafted and the moves they've made, that they haven't there's a lot of those guys, when you trade a couple firsts for somebody like they have with some of these guys, it doesn't pan out. But Jalen Ramsey has lived up to his billing. They've drafted well. What's his name? Their safety, who was just absolutely killer last year as a rookie. So they've drafted really well. So in the cap situation that they're in, I think they're taking a long, hard look at the draft, and that's really where they're going to restock that cupboard, because I think they're not having to replace starting left tackles. They're having to replace pieces, rotational pieces, a little bit more than they are those key elements. So I think they're really looking hard at the draft, and that's where they're going to focus.
And they've kind of ditched some of their draft picks as well, because they sent a couple to Detroit. So they don't have a first rounder this year either. Moving over to the 49ers, their guys, they're another team that's potentially going to be hurting next year. They're losing... Trent Williams is going to be a free agent, looks like, their big name left tackle. Richard Sherman, cornerback, obviously everybody knows Richard Sherman. He's going to be a free agent. There's talks of him going to the Jets.
That would be interesting.
I would agree.
I want to see Richard Sherman in the New York media so bad. That would be the greatest thing in the world.
I might become a Richard Sherman fan just for that. And I'm not a Richard Sherman fan.
Richard Sherman is my hero. I love that dude so much.
Another name that I didn't know was going to be hitting free agency was Solomon Thomas. They're one of their defensive ends. But then they've also got Jaworski Tart, free safety, K'Wan Williams, cornerback, Tom Compton, mouthful there, holy crap. Tom Compton, one of their guards, Ronald Blair, defensive end, Ben Garland, their center, Ezekiel Ansah, D-end, and Jason Verrett. Surprising, very good player this last year, who rebounded from injuries, an injury-plagued career with the Chargers. Jason Verrett was always highly touted. He just struggled to stay on the field. I'm curious how much he's going to fetch on the open market, because he is a damn good corner.
Yeah, their secondary is getting gutted, because there was those were starters and key contributors, especially on the secondary. But their offensive and defensive line are getting hit pretty hard. They've still obviously got a lot of good components, but that's most of their secondary.
Well, and thankfully they've got a fair amount of draft picks. What's that?
Yeah. Oh, and DJ Reed, who Seattle claimed off of waivers from San Francisco, and they've got him under contract for like $500,000 next year, and he played really well for them. That's who I forgot about on the Seahawks secondary.
Yep.
So, but yeah, San Francisco, they have the opposite. Hopefully they'll have some money to play with, because they do have a lot of positions that are absolutely key, especially on defense, that they're going to have to replace.
Yeah, they've got almost $12 million. But then you add in the fact that they've got 7 or 8 draft picks. I think they've got 1 or 2 bonus picks this year. They should be in pretty good shape on the defensive side once they replace a couple of those pieces. And they could re-sign a couple of them. I mean, these are guys who are just going to be going into free agency. honestly, if they don't re-sign K'Wan Williams, I would be surprised.
Yeah, he's a no-brainer. They have a few guys, but again, the guys that they have that are those, they're no-brainers. That you're going to sign that guy to a 4-year deal, and so your cap hit this year is going to be fairly minimal.
Mm-hmm. And to be honest, they would be very well served by re-signing Jason Verrett. That's one, to me, that's a must-do. Out of that entire list, that's who they need to re-sign.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like you said, he's a guy they need to. And then the guys that you're going to let walk, most of those guys, Richard Sherman, they're not going to sink a lot of cap space into, a guy who's at his age at this point. So I think they've got a pretty cut and dry path. But again, it's just going to come down to execution in the NFC West, man. It's going to be tough sledding.
Well, and getting into the whole competition part of it, and I know we already covered the Seahawks quite a bit tonight, but going to dive a little bit back into this as to what could potentially be up against the Seahawks for this year, and will Russ continue to struggle? If we look at their opponents, we've already talked about the NFC West and how tough they're going to be this year, especially on defense, with the 49ers getting basically their best couple players back, and then J.J. Watt coming in, and then the Rams just being a dominant defense. But here's the other opponents that the Seahawks are going to have to face this year. So alone, they've already got 6 games against good defenses. They play the Bears, the number 4 pass rush in the NFL. The Saints, the number 7 pass rush in the NFL. The Colts, the number 14 pass rush in the NFL. The Packers, the number 15 pass rush in the NFL, and then Washington, the number 5 pass rush in the NFL. This schedule, whether or not the teams are good, this is a dead man list for Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. He is going to get obliterated if they don't fix the offensive line issues and they don't scheme better.
And I think the second part of that, to me, at this point, is the key component. Is they did what Houston did not in the Shane Waldron hire. That's the guy that Russell Wilson likes. He likes the scheme that he runs, and it's an innovative scheme. It's a fast scheme, but it's a scheme that protects the quarterbacks. And Jared Goff's arm punts notwithstanding, I think the motion he uses, the pre-snap motion, the way he uses sliding pocket, and the way he gets his quarterbacks out into space by design is going to really play to Russell Wilson's strengths. And I think that's the thing that Russell Wilson is going to be really happy with overall, and it's going to make up for some of the actual physical shortcomings on the offensive line.
At least we got to hope, because I don't know if he can handle getting hit as many times as he did last season and the season before. If he gets sacked another 50 times and hit 80 times, he's going to really contemplate his future in the NFL if he can't get out of Seattle.
Yeah, if he's not already paralyzed by the end of the season. It's a murderer's row of pass rushers. I mean, you can say what you want about Washington as an organization and a football team, but they just have a devastating pass rush. It's gonna be tough sledding, and I go back to it, and I think he's fully justified in what he's saying, but it's also the game he plays, the way he prolongs plays, the number of hits he takes. There's a good number of those that are on him, so if he wants to minimize those, he has to start, or I don't even want to say start, he has to trust the scheme that he's going to play in, because Shane Waldron has a lot of quick hitting plays. And if he comes out there and tries to go to a third or fourth read on a quick sliding pocket, then he's going to get hit, right? If he's on a bootleg, if he's rolling out and he tries to extend that play for too long because he's not trusting his read, that's going to cause more sacks than the offensive line play is. So to me, that's a key part of his game. And I'm sure of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, he has the self-awareness to recognize that and to adjust that. But there's a lot of those sacks that he runs himself into.
Now, if he doesn't get traded and next year starts and he's 3 games into the season and he's taking 3 to 4 sacks a game and he's getting hit another 4 or 5 times on top of that, where do you go from there if you're the Russell Wilson camp that nothing has changed after this was voiced 10 months prior?
I mean, there's not really many places you can go. I mean, because it's comical to think that voicing it makes a bit of difference. You know, anybody can open up any stat sheet or watch a single Seahawks game and be like, man, that guy gets hit a lot. You know, that's not news. You know, you're not saying anything new that, you know, Seattle fans haven't said forever. Like, hey, can we get this guy some protection? So there's a little bit of that to it. That what are you going to do? You signed the monster deal. You're here. This is what it's been. We have invested in the offensive line. There have been first-round picks. There have been trades to upgrade, you know, trades for Dwayne Brown. What do you want us to do here? You know, there's a little bit of that element that there's only so much that the Seahawks can do, you know, and what do you want him to do this year? You know, you've got Dwayne Brown, who's an absolute stud at left tackle. Like you said, Ethan Posick was respectable at center. Obviously, you need to go out and find a couple of guards, and you need to fix the right tackle situation. I don't know how much of that you can fix overnight. I really don't. So I think that's the realistic internal conversation that if I'm the Seahawks, I'm having with the Russell Wilson camp is, look, man, we're going to go out and we're going to sign some free agents. We're going to probably bring Posick back to keep some consistency at center. We have a scheme that we feel like protects you and gives you faster reads. But other than that, what do you want us to do?
Well, and that was one thing we talked about the last time you were on, was the amount of punishment he's taken over his career so far, and how he's, you know, already getting to the point where he's going to pass Brett Favre, potentially all-time sacked quarterback, this next year if he takes, what was it, 30-something sacks away from being the most sacked quarterback all time. And his only season of not being sacked 40 times was his rookie season, where he got sacked 33 times. Every other season has been minimum 41 times. This last year, 47, 48 the year before that, 51 the year before that. I mean, he has just taken an absolute beating.
Yeah, but the other side of it is you're going to get sacked more if you go play for the Jets, bud. You know, yeah, you have your wish list of destinations, but either they can't afford you cap-wise or compensation for the Seahawks-wise, or we can trade you to somebody who can, and you can go down to Jacksonville. Sure, we'll take Trevor Lawrence, and you can go play in Jacksonville, and you think he got sacked a lot here?
Well, actually, he would probably, the situation going to the Jets would actually work, because the Jets have 2 first-rounders this year, and they have Sam Darnold, and I mean they've got the cap space. The Jets have like the third most,
but they don't have those
like
2 first. Yeah, they don't have those 2 first-rounders though. If Russell Wilson's going there, you know.
Well, right, I'm saying they have the draft capital. They could use Sam Darnold and 2 first-rounders this year.
Sam Darnold, yeah, you'd have to give me another first-rounder to take him.
Again, Gase effect, man. Look at Ryan Tannehill. Everybody said the same thing about Ryan Tannehill.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
that's true.
Darnold goes somewhere else and succeeds.
And you look.
Go ahead.
Well, and it's just, and you know, you look at the organizations that are out there in the Texans and what's going on with Deshaun Watson and the Jets with whatever it is they do as an organization. You know, here, Russ, man, you got a coach and a GM and an ownership group now that listens to you, that does, you know, take you into account and does allow you to be a part of this. And, you know, go learn what a dysfunctional organization looks like. You know, what some of these other quarterbacks are having to put up with and deal with day in and day out, and take punishment on the field, right? So that's part of what I'd be saying to him is like, hey man, you can put your wish list out there all day long. We've got our wish list too, and it's for you to be our quarterback or to get compensation that is worth what you're worth. And the teams that have that and are going to pay it are going to put you in a crappy situation where you're going to get sacked 40 times anyway, and are going to throw you under the bus.
Well, and that's one thing that I did laugh about with his list. He was talking about wanting to be included into it, and one of the teams is the Cowboys. You tell me Jerry Jones is going to include Russell Wilson in any key decision making, and I will call you high.
Yeah. The best case scenario. Look at what they're doing with Dak Prescott, who's low rent Russell Wilson. But look at the hardball they're playing with him. With his contract year, he plays a little bit of hardball back, and then goes out and gets injured, and they still are trying to franchise him.
Well, word coming out of the Dak camp is that he wants to be paid just a hair under the Mahomes contract.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
That's
say
the going rate for a B-tier quarterback. I don't think he deserves it, but that's the going rate.
Coming off the injury that he had, I don't know if that would be a smart decision for any team to pay that kind of money.
I don't think so. But look at what San Francisco did with Garoppolo right after Wilson signed his deal. Look at Jared Goff's deal. Those are.
But
neither of those
Garoppolo's deal was done before he got hurt. Garoppolo's deal restructure came after they traded for him. He was healthy. They just didn't play him until he learned the offense, and then he won the last 4 games of that season. They had planned on him just being the man, period.
I know, but he's not as good as Russell Wilson. I don't think he's even as good as Dak Prescott. And those were guys who got signed to monster deal.
But I also don't think we've seen a large enough sample size of Jimmy G to truly make a defined, this is this guy's legacy, this is his career, this is who he is, because he's only played 1 full season in 4 years.
Well, I mean, that's part of it, though, is he's been injured. And, I'd be more worried about his injury history than Dak's, But my point is,
but freak injuries,
second-tier quarterback. Yeah, so is Dak.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sold on Garoppolo at all. So,
I wouldn't say that you need to be sold on him. The question is whether or not he's a viable starter. I think. I don't know if anybody's saying anything about him being, somebody that you need to be sold on. My question with Dak isn't about being injury prone. My question is how is he going to recover from this? Is this something that he's going to be able to recover from? Because an ankle injury this severe can affect his mobility. And I'm not saying that he's a Russell Wilson-esque or Lamar Jackson-esque type quarterback, but mobility is one of his functions. And, being able to get out of the pocket and extend plays is something that he is good at. And if he doesn't have any kind of mobility and he's a statue back there, his career's done.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely get that. But, just to the point at hand, if Russell Wilson goes there, how's Jerry Jones going to treat him exactly the same way? Jerry Jones isn't going to welcome a superstar quarterback in and be all chummy with him, maybe publicly at first, but Jerry Jones is the guy who wants the spotlight on him. He doesn't want his players taking that away. So
right. Well, and you've already got McCarthy there as the head coach, so it's not like McCarthy's going to go anywhere for a couple of years. He's Jura's boy, and then what happens if
he's already ruined the prime of one Hall of Fame caliber quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the guy you want to go play for, the guy who Aaron Rodgers can't stand? Like, the guy who completely neutered Aaron Rodgers for years, that's the guy you want to go play for? Come on. I mean, I know I have my differences with Pete Carroll, but McCarthy's not an improvement.
True. But, I mean, at the same time, there's people that are saying Pete Carroll's doing the same thing, and so did the offensive coordinators as of late to Russell Wilson. They essentially neutered him.
Oh, and Yeah, and I'm a person who's saying that, but at least Pete Carroll's going to be nice to you, at least Pete Carroll's going to be nice to you and have fun, and worst case scenario, Pete Carroll's gone in a year or two. He's 70 odd years old, and yeah, he just signed a 3-year extension. But I think that's the big conversation, and I don't know if it's a Russell Wilson conversation or a Seahawks conversation. That's really what it boils down to is if it doesn't change, if it doesn't get better, I think it's Pete Carroll who's gone.
That seems more logical to me, is instead of giving up on Russell Wilson and moving on from him when he's clearly a generational quarterback, especially in the Seahawks world. Why would you move on from him instead of move on from the head coach and get a younger offensive-minded head coach who's willing to build around him and support his quarterback and give the quarterback what he needs to succeed? And when you have a Russell Wilson, maybe it's time Seattle has actually more of a offensive-minded team versus trying to keep the Legion of Boom mystique going with the Seahawks.
Right. Yeah, and Pete and John got, I don't want to call it luck, but they got lucky with Marshawn Lynch, right? 5 and a 6 for everything that he gave to Seattle. And how much does that help out a quarterback? The years they got out of Thomas Rawls and the production they've gotten out of Chris Carson, that really strong running game where they've hit on late round picks or great, bargains at getting these guys in and running games where, how much does that help the quarterback out? And works with Pete Carroll's philosophy. It's what he's wanted to do. Good, bad, or indifferent, but it's worked for him, and that strong defense that came from having a myriad of draft picks. Well, now you don't. Now you don't have that late round value running back under contract. And maybe you go out and get him this year. I don't know. But it's going to be hard to do that. So they have to find a way to either retool the expectation, or retool the implementation in order to get the results they want. And yeah, I don't know that Pete Carroll's the guy for it, especially when you look at the weapons they have right now. In DK Metcalf, in Tyler Lockett, I think Cody Parkinson's going to be a big part of the offense this year at tight end. Fast guys who need to get in space, and that's never been the Pete Carroll offensive philosophy. It's been power football, which is great if it works. When you have a Marshawn Lynch and a strong running or a strong offensive line, I think it can be effective even in today's NFL. But I mean, when no one is hiring Eric Bieniemy away from the Chiefs right now, I don't know how you justify keeping Pete Carroll. Because you have a guy who's done everything he's done with Andy Reid and with Patrick Mahomes, and that he doesn't have a head coaching job, and that the Seahawks haven't hired him to a head coaching job is mind-boggling.
There has been some conversation about that. There's been some talk that maybe people or teams are getting scared of Bieniemy because of the wording that he's using in his interviews, where he's giving too much credit to Andy Reid for the offense, and basically making it sound like Andy Reid's offense and I'm just the clipboard holder type of guy. I mean, when you look at it, look who is struggling right now as a head coach, who was Andy Reid's offensive coordinator just a couple years ago before Bieniemy, and that hasn't panned out. No,
it hasn't. But is it better the devil you know? Because what's going on in Seattle isn't panning out. And I know we're beating that drum a lot here, but it's at the forefront of the NFL, and to me it's so definitive because of the direction the Seahawks have gone, where they've become in a lot of ways the face of the NFL, and they've been super visible. And then they're in this tough division that people are drawn to, that, you have Sean McVay and the Rams and Aaron Donald, big splashy trades, J.J. Watt that we've been talking about. these big signings, people are coming to the NFC West. It's at the forefront of the NFL, and I think the Seahawks in particular at our crossroads, where every other team in the division has gotten younger, both on the field but also with their coaching staff. And for as much as we say the NFL is a copycat league, which it absolutely is, somebody has to start that domino fall. And the Seahawks did it in a lot of ways with the ideas that Pete Carroll implemented, with their molds of cornerbacks and all of that. But then the trend towards these younger, fast-paced, high-octane offenses are the name of the day. And Seattle's starting to get left behind on that because their coach is aging and is still married to his philosophies, and because their roster is aging. And now you're having to replace 24 players on your roster in free agency, and they're trying to jam square pegs into round holes with philosophical execution of what they want to do. And they don't have the personnel to do it, but they have great personnel, but they're not using them properly.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the ages of the head coaches, getting younger and stuff. It's almost to a point where Pete Carroll is older than the combined ages of the other three head coaches in the NFC West.
Yeah.
Because they're all under 35. Shanahan, actually no, Shanahan might be late 30s by now, but still, the other two are early 30s, maybe.
Yeah.
So
maybe mid 30s. Yeah, but nobody's 40. Nobody's 40 there.
Nope.
So.
No. All right, Dean. I got to let you go, man. We got to get moving on with it tonight. I appreciate you being on, man. We will catch you later.
Anytime.
If anybody wants to follow Dean on Twitter, his sports account is @DeanOnSports on Twitter. And thanks for being on tonight, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks for having me.
See ya. Whew, a lot of info tonight. Holy crap. That got deep. All right, we are going to get over to our box break tonight. Let me get the screen switched over here. Give me a second, guys. All right. I'm going to get these headphones off now because I don't need them. Get rid of that. There we go, way cleaner. Okay, so tonight we are going to rip a box of 2020-21 Panini Hoops basketball. I'm going to do a quick check into the NBA real quick. I want to see what we got for scores before we rip. Mentioned it earlier, Memphis took down Wizards. Celtics beat the Clippers, 117-112. Hawks over Heat, 94-80. Looks like the Spurs are going to take down the Knicks, 111-89, currently with 2 minutes to go. We got Nuggets over the Bucks, 86-69, still 3.5 minutes to go in the third. And the Suns-Lakers just got started a little bit ago. Right on. I missed a lot of comments in the chat, guys. I apologize for that. I've got it, once I get everything changed around a little bit more, and I can actually have the chat up closer, I'll be able to read it a little bit. It's kind of hard to read from the distance that I've got it at. But I see there was a lot of chat tonight. Good job, guys. Right on. All right, so we are going to rip a box of 2020-21 Panini Hoops. And this is a 2 autograph per box, 24 packs, 8 cards per box. So we're just going to get right into it tonight. Hopefully we can hit something big. These came out the gate at around $4.50-ish a box. When they first got released, a lot of the big guys had them up around $4.50, $4.75. They have now dropped to right around the $4.10 per box range, obviously, because it's hoops. It's not a high-end product, and it will slowly come down a little bit as more products come out. Ideally, I'd love to see it down under 300, but I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think any product's going to be under 300 a box. So, starting off, if you haven't seen Hoops base cards yet, so starting off with Kevin Knox, Tim Hardaway Jr., Drew Holiday, Christian Wood, Mo Bamba, and then we get, nice, starting it off, good first pack, Hypnotize, LeBron James insert. Good way to start off the box. And then our two rookies for the pack, Skylar Mays and Peyton Pritchard. First pack, LeBron. Jaylen Brown, Landry Shamet, Devin Booker, Victor Oladipo, Malik Monk, and we get a Killian Hayes, we got next insert. Rookies of Devin Vassell and Patrick Williams. You typically get two base rookies per pack, and then your insert a lot of times can also be a rookie, so it just kind of depends. Or you could be the parallel. John Morant, Wendell Carter, Trae Young, Cam Reddish, Harry Giles. We get Legends of the Game, Pete Maravich, and these are numbered. This one is out of 699. Nico Mannion and Grant Riller. I almost thought that said Grant Miller. I was like, I didn't think that was his name. Yeah, it actually gets kind of easy to build the set if you've opened up a couple of hobby boxes or even a handful of the blasters and stuff. Elfrid Payton, Alex Caruso, Jordan Clarkson, Bradley Beal, Andre Iguodala, and we get a purple rookie, Sadiq Bey. And then our base rookies, Tyrese Halliburton and Xavier Tillman. Karis LeVert, Ben Simmons, Marc Gasol, DeMar DeRozan, Thon Maker, and we get City Edition. Insert James Harden. Rookies, LaMelo Ball and Robert Woodard. Yeah, Bay is pretty dang good. I gotta admit that, definitely. Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell, Aaron Gordon, Aaron Hayes, Jeremy Lamb, and we get a now playing Alexei Pokusevsky. Not the foil version, just the paper. And then Udoka and Malachi Flynn. Yep, got to check for the red backs. Typically what I've noticed, the red backs are flipped the other way. Steph Curry, LeBron James, Jared Allen, Mike Conley, Jokic, and we get a high voltage insert, Joel Embiid. I like the high voltage this year. This is going to look really good in the Hoops Premium. Obi Toppin and Tyrese Maxey. Al Horford, Fred VanVleet, Darius Garland, Patty Mills, Siku, and then we get a now playing Jaden McDaniels. Desmond Bain and Cassius Stanley. Daniel House, Cat, Kemba Walker, Vesuvich, Ricky Rubio, Legends of the Game, DeMontis Sabonis out of 999. Future Legends of the Game. Rookie, Jameis Ramsey and Alexei Pokusevsky. Lou Williams, Wesley Matthews, Malcolm Brogdon, PJ Washington, Clint Capella, and we get a purple Paul George. Rookies, Isaac Okoro and Isaiah Stewart. Daniel Gafford, Kevin Looney, Anthony Davis, Buddy Hield, and here's our auto, Onyeka. Rookie Inc. Onyeka Okongwu. And then we get a Zion Williamson. I don't know why I said Williams. Zion Williamson backstage pass. So focused on moving on to the backstage pass part. Zion. Jordan Nora and Jalen Smith. Wasn't Onyeka like the 6th overall pick or something? DeAndre Jordan, Matisse Thybulle, Duncan Robinson, Paul Millsap, Tristan Thompson, and we get a what set is this from again? Edwards. It's Anthony Edwards. This is called the Rookie Special. That's right. I thought it said it on the front too, but this one, I have the LaMelo Ball, and it says it on the front. This one does not say it on the front, though. But rookie special, short print, Anthony Edwards. Denny and Onyeka. Eyes are starting to get blurry tonight. Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, Lonzo, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, and, ooh, there we go, tribute foil Steph Curry. Right on. I like these. Steph Curry tribute foil. Saban Lee and Jaden McDaniels. It's actually been a decent box. Romeo Langford, Kawhi, Evan Fournier, Chris Paul, Miles Turner, and Malik Monk, purple parallel. Vernon Carey and Zeke Naji. You are very welcome, Taylor. George Hill, Lauri Markkanen, Draymond Green, Brandon Clark, DeAndre Hunter. Courtside, Kawhi Leonard. James Wiseman and Kira Lewis Jr. So we still got one auto left in this box. KCP, Taurean Prince, Bogdan, Goron, Gary Harris. Now playing Malachi Flynn. Precious and Leandro Bolmaro. Tobias Harris, Serge Ibaka. Luka. Matthew Dellavedova, Derek White. Zero Gravity, Penny Hardaway. Tyrell Terry and RJ Hampton. RJ Hampton is another one that's starting to come on. I think he's going to be good. Jackson Hayes, Gordon Hayward, Derrick Rose, Markelle Fultz, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I bet you this is a red Otto Porter. Yep, there we go. That's where the insert was. Nick Richard and Kenyon Martin. Julius Randle, Zion. Brooke Lopez, Terry Rozier, Jeff Teague, Legends of the Ball foil. The big man, the Admiral, David Robinson. Very cool. Very cool card. Daniel Orturo and Cassius Winston. It's funny, you see duplicates of some of the no-name or the late round or late second, third round picks, but you rarely ever see two of like Wiseman or Anthony Edwards or LaMelo in the same box. Willie Cauley-Stein, R.J. Barrett, Harrison Barnes, Rudy Gobert, Troy Brown, and a now playing foil Onyeka. Yep, David, we can see you. Oops. Yeah, that's the wrong one. Trey Jones and Emmanuel Quickley. All right, so we only got 4 packs left, and there's still an auto to come. Markieff Morris, Kevin Durant, Josh Richardson, Kevin Porter Jr., Rudy Gay, and a zero gravity Russell Westbrook. Anthony Edwards and Sadiq Bey. All right, down to 3 packs left. OG, Robert Covington, Luke Kennard, Jonathan Isaac, Kelly Oubre, and we get a We Got Next, James Wiseman. Not the foil, unfortunately, but still a cool insert. Tyler Bay and Theo Maledon. Still looking for our second auto. Jarrett Culver, Frank Ntilikina. I've never been able to pronounce his name. Trez, Sabonis, Batum, and we get a prime twine, Paul George. Cole Anthony and Josh Green. Last pack, guys. This should be our second auto. Works out perfect if this is actually, it looks like that's where our auto is. Eric Bledsoe, Zach LaVine, John Collins, De'Aaron Fox, and Denver Nuggets, Monty Morris. Hot signatures. Wah, wah. So not a great second auto. And then we get a City Edition Dame. Killian Hayes, and our last rookie card, Aaron Nesmith. So that was our one box of Hoops basketball. Let's sleeve up the autos real quick, guys. Give me a sec. And I'm going to sleeve up that Anthony Edwards short print. Okay, let me get these out of the way. I will sleeve the Melo at some point, yeah. I've got all his rookies set off to the side. All his stuff is gonna be, you know, decent price, but I mean they've dropped to like $20 a piece, so I'm not expecting them to be anything big. One second, guys. Just checking something. Alright, perfect. It's still available. We're going to do a second one. That was the last box that I had for sale. It hadn't sold during the show, and I feel like running it back a little bit. So let's rip a second one. So we're going to do a second box of Hoops basketball. And hopefully get something nice out of this one. Mess up my job there. All right, let's do this. Let's burn through this. I'm not going to go through all the base. All right, we get a purple Kelly Oubre, Anthony Edwards, Saddiq Bey rookies. City Edition, Jason Tatum. Tyler Bay, Theo Maledon. We're going to fly through this a little bit quicker. Desmond Bane, now playing. Cole Anthony, Josh Green. And we get a Saddiq Bey green out of 99. 28 of 99, Saddiq Bey. Right on, that's a good one. Killian Hayes and Aaron Nesmith. And this might be a red. Bohan, red. Obi and Maxi. We get a tribute, Karl Malone. Desmond Bain, Cassius Stanley. There we go. We get the foil version of the rookie special, Anthony Edwards. There we go. Very nice. Precious and Balmaro. Right on. Foils are good. City Edition, Bradley Beal. Tyrell Terry, R.J. Hampton. We got next Tyrese Maxey, Nick Richards and Kenyon Martin Jr. And we get another parallel rookie, Tyler Bay. So we get both Bays. This one's out of 199. Elijah Hughes and CJ Ellaby. It is really tough to see these names on this sometimes. The mellow on the site in the rookie special is not the foil, no. And our first auto, Brian Scalabrine, Hot Signatures. Ugh, hopefully our next auto is something to actually show off. Donovan Mitchell, Prime Twine. Skylar Mays and Peyton Pritchard rookies. And we get another foil. Spark Plugs, Kendrick Nunn. That's the first time I've seen that insert. More power, more speed. Patrick Williams, Devin Vassell. Obi Toppin, we got next. Isaac Okoro, Isaiah Stewart. Future Legends of the Game, Luka out of 9.99. 45 of 9.99. Future Legends of the Game, Luka Doncic. Jordan Nwora, Jalen Smith. We are getting some foils in this one. City Edition, Ben Simmons foil. It's been a good box for foils. Denny and Onyeka. Zero Gravity, Scottie Pippen. Saban Lee and Jaden McDaniels. Now playing, Killian Hayes, Vernon Carey, and Zeke Najee. Let's go. Let's get a nice hit. Jason Tatum, Hypnotized. James Wiseman and Kira Lewis Jr. There we go. LaMelo Ball now playing. Not the foil insert, though. Or foil parallel, I should say. But still, good one. Nico and Grant Riller. This has been a pretty decent box as well. Legends of the Game, Oscar Robinson out of 699. Halliburton and Tillman. And we get a purple LeBron James. Woodard and LaMelo in that one as well. And we flew right into our next auto. Tyrell Terry. Rookie Ink. Tyrell Terry. And a courtside Steph Curry. Udoka and Malachi Flynn. Well, I would definitely say our parallels are more valuable than our autos. Jalen Smith, we got next. Daniel Oturo and Cassius Winston. Last pack, guys. See if we can get a big parallel. High Voltage, Pascal Siakam. We did not get a big parallel. Trey Jones, Emmanuel Quickley base. All right, let me sleeve up those. That was one more additional box of 2020-21 Hoops Basketball. Edwards looks fantastic. That I might have to stash that one. So you can see the difference. Obviously you can see the foil glare versus the other one. Alright, let's figure out what the giveaway is going to be. We got 6 on tonight, so I'll do two prizes tonight. Two prizes tonight. let's see here. All right, those are all out of the way. So, what did we have for cool inserts? Those are okay. That's that's okay. That one's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Man. Okay, we're gonna do that for one. Alright, so that's gonna be one prize. And the other prize will be alright, well, since you guys were talking about him so much, I'm going to do one of the prizes is going to be the Scalabrine auto, the Legend in Boston. And the other prize is going to be the Luka Future Legends of the Game and the Zion Backstage Pass. So one person's going to win the Scalabrine, apparently Legend of the Boston Celtics. I'm assuming you guys were being facetious. So we're going to do prize 1, prize 2. Okay? That's what we're going to do tonight. Okay. So, where are my other screens? There we go. Oh, geez. Hooked on the cord. Sorry, guys. Hand hooked on the cord as I was trying to move. Don't do that. We don't want that. He's like their Steve Scheffler. Oh, that's funny. Okay, guys. If you want in, throw down me on the chat board. M-E, just put me. Like you want in. Me, I want to win. Saints card collector. I'm assuming that's Anthony, right? Wild shot in the dark. Hell yeah, I'm good. See, I still have a memory for the guys that used to watch the streams back in the day. Anthony. Taylor. David Miller. Shane O'Mac. Is that all we got? Did Zeus leave? Zeus, where are you? Come on, man. You were just on here. Who else we got? Who else we missing? There was a bunch of people on earlier, I thought. I don't know. I couldn't actually see how many people were on. The screen was too far away from me while I had Dean on, so I couldn't see. I couldn't see the viewers number. Yeah, Zeus always jumps out like right before the giveaway. It seems. I guess he doesn't want to win. But I mean, we've got. It's funny because, like, we go through rotations where we'll get, like, we're pretty consistent with having 6 to 10 people on, but there's literally, like, 30 people that have watched the show at least once over the last 2 months. It's funny. And it's not like they leave and never come back. It's like somebody will miss something, and then somebody else will come in for a week or two, and then they miss a couple weeks, and it's just like we just always have the consistency. Oh, Zeus won last week. That's right. I forgot because I literally hit the randomizer, and he jumped in last second because he'd walked away from his computer. He turned his sound off for a second or something. That's right. I remember that. That's funny. All right, we're gonna get our dice roller here while we're waiting. All right, roll the dice. Four. I 100% believe you there, Taylor. I want to say you and David have been a model of consistency. Honestly, I don't even think Shane, I want to say maybe I don't even think you've missed a show. Yeah, a couple of you guys are on top of it. I know I had the 1 week where I was having the problem where it wasn't broadcasting, and I made it through like 90% of the show. And Shane, I think it was you that jumped on, was like, I was just breaking the box, and you were like, nobody can find the link to your live stream. It's not showing as live. I followed the link in Twitter, and I was like, oh shit, because somehow it turned it to private for some reason. I still don't know why to this day that it did that. I definitely appreciate that, Taylor. I definitely appreciate all the love you guys have given me and the support, and looking forward to this taking off here soon, especially when I get the studio built. Yeah, Donnie's normally here too. He's out, and Fitch is usually here. Yeah. Jordan's normally in. Steve's normally here. So we usually get quite a few guys in here, but we'll give it another minute to see if anybody else is on, but just walked away for a second. Oh man. Oh. I'm looking forward. Revolution Basketball comes out in like a week from Friday. I think it got moved back to, or maybe it's either the 10th or the 17th. I cannot wait for Revolution Basketball. Revolution's a fun product. I like Revolution Basketball, but I'm not a fan of their version of it for football with Unparalleled. I don't know. I just have not been able to get on board with Unparalleled since it came out. What, in 2016, I think? Yeah. I've got it up for pre-sale, but I know it's not cheap. I had to buy it out in order to get some. I've got it up at... what do I have it at? Honestly, I don't remember. I had to buy it secondary. I'm at $425, and I'm still below people. And I had to buy it higher than what I wanted to. The only way I could get a better price on it was if I bought 2 cases, and I wasn't about to sink money into 2 cases at $300+ a piece. Nice, sun's up. Yeah, I remember you opened up the Chinese New Year because I had ripped a couple of those, or I had talked to Brian about it, and he brought them in on my recommendation. I like the Chinese New Year's parallels, though. I'm definitely going to be looking for those this year. Hopefully I can get a case of those so I can sell some on my website. All right, well, if nobody else is going to jump on, then we're going to roll. I've already rolled the dice, so we're going to do the randomizer. So we're going to roll 4, We're going to randomize 4 times. Good luck, everybody. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Miller in the 1 spot, Shane in the 2 spot. So Miller is winning the Brian Scalabrine auto, and Shane walks away with the Zion and the Luka. Congratulations, guys. Let me get a picture of our winners list and what they won. Alrighty, 1 moment, please. All right. So that was episode 24 for this week. So next week, I believe it sounds like I'm going to probably have Mark on with me next week. Mark Magana. Some of you guys know him. So it sounds like he's going to be on with me next week. I do have another interview that I'm working on right now on another card trading platform. I'll have more information on that probably this week-ish. So I'm working on a time with the CEO of that platform. So that should be this month as well. We do have a card show coming up this weekend in Portland, Oregon. Make sure you guys are checking the website for the events tab, especially if you're in this area, in the Washington area. I'm going to keep that updated with the card shows that I'm going to be going to and setting up at. Eventually, the plan is to include more card shows around the country as well. So I'm going to try to get in with a couple of guys that run a bunch of different shows or participate in a bunch of different shows, so I can get on a schedule so that I can get that information and I can put it in the contacts or in the events calendar. So maybe I can start getting a little more comprehensive list around the country of some of the card shows, and people can actually kind of use it as a resource for card shows in their area. Yeah, so sounds like I said next weekend, Mark Magana, or next week, Mark Magana, and then week after that probably is going to be the interview if I get it lined up for that week. Card show in Auburn is going to be March 20th at the Outlet Mall in Auburn, which has been a very, very good card show since it got moved down there. Make sure you guys tune in next week. I will probably have my plates and patches football, so I hopefully will be ripping a box of that for our preview box, and giving away some cards out of that. Spread the word. Let's get this bigger. The more attraction I can get, the more people into the show I can get, the better case I have for getting some sponsorship, for getting some stuff to give away, for getting some advertising, for getting a lot more upgrades. And we're going to take it from there, and hopefully we can get this show to the moon, as they say with Dogecoin. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight, and I will see you all next week, and I'll probably talk to a bunch of you guys on social media throughout the week. Have a good week, everybody, and stay safe out there.